Welcome to Trading Lounge and the global indices, starting with the SP500 here on the daily chart. So I just want to go over the count a little bit. First of all, we've got wave 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2 here, and then going all the way up here for wave 3 here and 4 here, and then 5 and so on. It's also possible to put wave 2 over here. I don't think that is the case by looking around at other markets, but it's plausible. And the other thing too is that this little move up here as 1 and 2 and coming up to wave 3 here and wave 4 here, this is the count that I'm basically using. So that orange minor wave 3 and 4 here, that will be a bit of a game changer in terms of the trend correcting. But we still got from wave 4 here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We still got higher to go to 4,600, 4,650, roughly speaking. So we've got this count by putting wave 3 and 4 here. The other count, if I go to the intraday, is a little bit different, and it would have wave 3 up here. So I'm still working 2 counts to the upside. I mean, at least they're both to the upside, and really it's not going to make a lot of difference. Because either which way I count it, it's still going to have the same price action of having 5 waves up here and then having a correction and so on. But yeah, just take an image of that in your mind, and we're going to go to the, maybe better if I go to the 10K. It'll just give a bit of a clearer definition of this. So let me just get in a bit more data here. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2 in this case. And then looking at this here as 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave for 1 and 2. And then looking at all of this as wave 1 and 2 here. Now I know you could also change that as well. You could also put wave 1 here and wave 2 in here for that as well. Doesn't leave you with the best 5 waves up, but it's doable. So you could also go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So if you've done that, that's okay. You know, I don't think it's going to be a big issue at this point. These type of things normally resolve themselves later on in the trend further up, where you can see that you're going to get an extra leg, an extra high, and then you can come back and you can go, well, obviously that was it there. Why didn't I see it? You know, all that sort of stuff. But I'm always mindful of where my mistakes lay. And I like to share them because people have input over them. So this is a slightly different count where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the same sort of thing, and we'll have an ABC here that this wave 4 can pull back to this wave 4, so it's the same. It may or may not pull all the way back to that particular wave 4 there as well. There's all that to consider as well. But in the meantime, we're still just chuffing along to the upside here on this. So on the intraday on 100 ticks, we don't have this particular count. We have, going back to the daily count here for a moment, we've got this count here. So we've got a little wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in green here, going up to here somewhere and then pulling back. Okay, so I'm going to go from here all the way to 100 ticks, and we're just going to build in. We'll pick it up from that wave 4 there perhaps. Let's just see how much data we need here. Let's just go back a little bit so you can get your bearings on this a bit. Or there's that wave 4 here. Okay, so where we are at the moment, we've been looking at wave 1 and 2, and then from 2 in green here, we're going up for wave 3 here, and then wave 4, and then wave 5. So we still need to push up higher for this. So over the last while, we've just been, it's a little bit complicated. I won't go into all of this, but basically we're looking for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So we could probably even have a top in here now, actually. So it looks like it wants to pull off quite deeply here. So it's probably, we could probably put that in here. That would be 5 waves here. Doesn't give me the best here. I'll just double check that low here, but it's certainly selling off at that point. And we've made a new high here. So that looks corrective. So we're going to have to put that over there. I'll just clean my mess up there. That's there. So we can look at that being wave 1. It doesn't really count very nicely here, I have to say. I'll have a look at it on the cash market. It might be another little wave up at that point. I mean, obviously there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 5 in there. That's good. This here could probably be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we've got overlap there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. So I'm still left with this extra wave. So it doesn't, there might be another move in here for this. So it doesn't really matter. What we'd be looking, I'll just check on the Nasdaq in a moment anyway. But this wave 4 here can come back to this wave 4 here. So if this number 2 here, when we've got 4, 5 here, the 500, we've got 1, 10, 20, and 30. If the number 2 here becomes it's okay for it to spike down to 1.5. If the number 2 becomes the retested resistance, right? So it's okay to come down and then move up at that point. If it finds it as the resistance, which means it pushes back up there and then takes that low out, then you know that you've got a top in play. That's the good thing about the pivot within group 1 here of this. So that would be where that is, and then we'd be looking for a larger correction coming into play, but there's still another trend to the upside, so you don't really need to change your position. So we could end up at 4.6 or 4.650 up here. But as always, we'll just track the 5 waves that move to the upside. I'll just have a little look at, I mean, it's earnings season now too again. So I know that the banks were doing their thing. The Nasdaq hasn't really sold off that much really here. But the thing here too is that if we look at wave 3 here and 4 here, we're on 20,000 ticks here, so pretty much a daily chart, not quite, but 3, 4 here. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up here. So this, you know, this is not a game changer, but this is a game changer. This particular top around the 16,000, and we'll have this wave 4 here. Technically, it can pull back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, but I don't want to freak you out on that. So I'm just going to put it here because there's nice support here, and we'll just see how that plays out. But all these long trades that you have in the market, once we get this 5th wave, you need to be out at this point. And we talked about yesterday and today about taking some money off the table at the 15.8 here, or just before. So anywhere between the 72 number here, which is actually 720, and the 800 is fine to take that off there. So, but I'll just keep that out the way there. And yeah, I think that's about it at this point. So yeah, there won't be a lot of damage at this point. I mean, if it does break down through here, what you can do is look at the previous low here. Just move that out of the way. And take that to the top, and we can look for the 38.2%. So it can come down a bit further on that note. So we can just bring that down to here, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'd kind of see it as an opportunity more than anything else. Yeah, the other little thing here too, probably haven't got it wrong, but you know, as I mentioned in the stock video today, we're looking at this as 1 and 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4 here, but it gives a really long extension in wave 5 of 3. So it kind of reminds me of a wave 3, all of this here. So that could be a wave 3 here. And if that is the case, well then what will happen is that this wave 3 here will end up at the 16,000. So that will push up higher at that point. It will fluff around in here and then push up. But either way, you know, taking some money off at 15.8 or below is fine, and exiting at the 16,000 is fine as well. So if on this here, if the 15,650 here, the lower level of group 2, if that becomes the retested resistance, then you know that you're coming down for this point. And the resistance would look kind of simple, like this here with the first, well, it's not the simplest one, that's the simplest one, where it doesn't go back above the level. But once it drops down through here and comes back, if that low here is breached, then you know that it's, you know, this level's price point, the 15,650, has been rejected at that particular point in time, and you'll be coming down further. Okay, so the next one is the Russell. The Russell looks like it also needs to push up here for a little move up here and then have this ABC pattern here like the other markets and then wave 5 up here. So this will be a bit of a game changer. So I wouldn't really get involved in any of this until we get over here with this and start building to the upside. I mean, it does look like, I suppose we could push 5 waves into that, couldn't we? And we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's possible. I mean, the point that it's made, you know, it's made a high above here, that's kind of good enough, but it's the end of the session and it needs to come back and check the old high. Look, there could be one more move up there, or we'll need to bring this across over here. It does make a case for 5 waves, but it's just this little guy in here that doesn't really make a lot of sense, the A, B, C to this point. So I'd probably have to look at that as 1 and 2 here, and then all of this is the 3rd wave. So there can be one more little push in here, but I wouldn't get involved in trading in here. I'd wait for it to pull back into support here, and then we can look at it to the upside. So yeah, we can expect tomorrow probably the afternoon session to be softer in the markets. So this is the industrial sector ETF here, and the reason I'm showing this for is because the Dow Jones is much the same, but the Dow Jones hasn't had that push to the upside here yet. I mean, you've got some pretty strong stocks in here. So, but it's just the same pattern as the Dow Jones. So when we look at this and we look at this over here, you can see that this move up here is wave 1 here, ABC, ABC here, and then 1 and 2, 1 and 2 here, and this is doing the same things, but it just hasn't taken out the highs here. So it will, you know, I think once, as I've probably said before, on the 34 here, which is also an important number too if you're using the Fibonacci as a price ratio, but it hasn't actually, you know, it's had this correction here. It hasn't actually found it as support yet. It's very close to doing that. So it could, you know, push up and then push back, and then be free of that level at that point. Then it'll move quite quickly because it's got a good accumulation process through here that will equal the distribution process up through here. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting at this point. I mean, this wave 1 here is still quite low below here, but when you look on this industrial here, it's much higher, and in fact it's taken out that top over here. So, and you can see that it's in a bull run. I mean, you know, you could ask your 9-year-old about that. So yeah, so it's some, you know, some markets lead, some follow. This is following its own sector at the moment. So you could hold that for the longer term. Okay, so over to the European markets, and they're all pretty much the same. So that means that we'll see, this is the DAX, sorry, it's on 100 ticks, and from the low here, I'm looking up as one more move to the upside, and then the ABC pattern. So this ABC pattern here will be pretty much when the S&P and the Nasdaq are pulling back in their green wave 4 at that point. And then we'll see a move to the upside. So they're slightly out of sync with the others. So the DAX and the FTSE and the Australian market, this is the FTSE here, we've got 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and we're looking for 3, and we were looking for 4 over the last couple of sessions. So we're still looking for 5, the ABC over here. So we'll look to trade long over this point, but we still need that 5 waves here before we can trade long, because really the truth is that we could look at this as an A and a B and a C wave up here. That's the reality of all of these that we're looking at, the DAX and the Australian market. So it's possible to have that there as a C wave. But once if we get 5 waves here, like if we get 5 waves, then we know that we can buy the pullback and then we can build in positions over here. But we can't do that at the moment because we don't have anything telling us we're actually, you know, with some proof that we're going to get this other move over here. So we don't have that yet. That's what we're waiting for. We need that 5 waves because they've been in a larger correction, these guys, you know. And this move here, and maybe wave C over here, the low, or we could have an A and a B and a C wave over here as well. So this here could also just be an A wave here as well. It'd still give us one over here, so we can trade that, and we would look at it along the way. So there's a little bit different stuff going on with the Asian market. This is the Australian market here. We talked about how this sort of compared to the material sector and the financial sector yesterday, so I don't need to go into the bigger picture. Yesterday I had this as a wave 4, but I had it as one of these little guys, so I've rearranged everything to make it sort of do the right thing, so to speak. So yeah, so I'm thinking this is a wave 4 here. It's not really tradable. We need a correction across this level, so we need this set up here, right? So this will be our long trades over here for this. And this could pull back quite deeply. It could pull back to the 50-60% as well. Do you know what I mean? There's still a lot to be had here. I think the point being here is that we've had this run, and now this run is going to be rebalanced. I mean, it's a little bit of a tricky count in here, but the FTSE is pretty clear, so we can view it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll see if we're on the right track, but I mean, I'm just saying it's possible that I could have it wrong, and we have this as wave 1 up here. But we don't really have to do anything. Even if it does make a new high, it's just going to clip the top out there and roll back over. So there's not a lot to be sort of done at this point with all of this. You've had the punch bowl party, and now you have to go home. So have a good rest, and we'll look at pushing this to the upside if we get the right correction on the DAX and the FTSE and this market as well. This is the Nikkei here. We looked at it on the daily chart last week, and we're looking for it to pull back. So this is the ABC at this point here. So if you wanted to trade this, then the 33,000 here as a tested support with a classic trading levels pattern would be the trade set up to the long side, the safe thing. So it needs to come up and hit it, drop back from the 33,000, push up, drop back, and then sit up here again on that. So there's a little while for this to happen. So it's already gone up and hit it once. So it needs to push up above it and then drop back here, like it's pushed up here and dropped back. So I'll keep an eye on it anyway. So you could buy it here, but that's, the money's in the turn, you get extra, for the risk that you're taking. It is 3 waves. If this move here was actually in 3 waves, then I would sort of push that a little bit, but it looks like a 5-3-5 structure here. So that means that it can open up to a more bearish pattern. I don't think that's the case. And normally it would sort of, in a bullish market, it would sit above, this is group 1 here, 1, 2, and 3. It would normally sit above that. If the 2 becomes the retested resistance, then it's going to be pulled down to this number. It can spike down to the 1.5, to the 500 halfway mark here, and then recover from that point. But if it becomes the retested resistance, then it's going to belong to this level here, this price point here. If it can get support on this level here, because the safe trade would be above here, above the B wave as normal, but we're just trying to get in a little bit earlier with the first high above the level, some sort of other little B wave in here, and then go long above that point here, and the trade is to the 5, and then you would exit at that point, and there will be trouble, across the top here at the 34 here as well, but it will be worth holding through that. So that's the Nikkei. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in. Cheers.